Junaynah Luqman. Well, I was born in London, but my dad is Jamaican, and my mum, she was born in Kenya, raised in Kenya, but she's actually Arab, so I'm half Jamaican, half Arab. I'm 16 years old. I live in Norwich at the moment, going to City College Norwich. I'm studying art level 1. The thing that got me onto doing it is because I was walking past this dress shop, and I was looking at the dresses and I thought, none of them look nice. I want to design a dress for someone like that will last forever and that will make them really happy. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. I have Beebs, my big brother, and I look up to him so much. Like when I was little, we're like inseparable, like best friends. Because he's so good at art, I used to be like, oh, I want to be like that, I want to be like that. So I used to just like copy what he's doing and just draw everything he draws. He used to tell me, oh, stop copying me. So I was like, okay, then I'll do my own stuff. And I started getting into like doing my own things, and I just grew to love the subject. I just love art now. I don't know what I'd do without art. I chose Julia La Ronde because she has a good story behind how she got to where she is, and she's very interesting, and yeah, I learned a lot from interviewing her. Hi Julia.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
Yeah, not too bad really, alright I think.
Could you tell me a bit about your upbringing?
Well, I grew up in a very tiny island in the Caribbean called Dominica.
So what brought you to England then?
My husband's English, and in short, I would say that's what brought me to England.
I understand that you are a successful businesswoman.
When I was having difficulties in finding proper employment, I thought, well, the only way I'm going to be the managing director is to run my own company and make myself the managing director.
That's very true. Yeah.
And so I had this idea to produce this drink. At the time, I was actually listening to Radio Norfolk. Somebody had been to the Caribbean, they'd had a particular drink, and they wanted to get the recipe for the drink. So it was the same drink I had been thinking of turning into into commercial products. So I got in touch with the radio station, and the radio station ended up putting me in touch with somebody in the drinks industry.
What advice would you give to young black women growing up?
Whatever it is you want to do, you have to believe that you can do it. Because if you don't believe in yourself, guess what? No one else will believe in you.
It's so true.
Okay?
She seems so down to earth, and I thought, oh, she's really nice to finally see someone that's like successful but still like normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize she'd be that normal. I thought she'd be quite, I don't know. She's very different to how I imagined her in my head. Like I thought she would be quite professional, and she wouldn't joke around as much, and she'd be quite serious most of the time. But she's very down to earth and easy to talk to, and she's funny. My national role model was Winifred Atwell, and I chose her because I like music, so that's one of the reasons. And she did a lot of work with the Aborigine people, and when I heard that, I was really interested, and I was like, oh wow, I want to read more about it. I want to learn more about her and see how her life was and how it must have been for her as a black woman in her day to get as far as she did, and to actually speak up for black people. Hi Steve. In your opinion, why would Winifred Atwell be a good role model for young black people of this generation?
First of all, because she represents a whole chunk of history that we don't talk about. Just people who are achievers in any sense. Here is someone who was the first pianist to be a million seller, first pianist to be a double gold and silver record winner. But she was also reintroducing a form of black music which had sort of lain dormant for about 30 years or so, namely ragtime, which was brought back into the mainstream of British entertainment. I mean, there were keyboard performers such as Rick Wakeman, Keith Emerson, who directly cite Winifred Atwell as being the person who really influenced them in the honky-tonk style, and it was a launchpad for other people's careers. And even though you couldn't say that she was a revolutionary, and people might say that, you know, she watered down her talent to appease to a mass audience, still, you know, she was doing this on her own. She didn't have the support of a huge community behind her, and she is very much a solo individual, often in uncharted waters like going to America. And finally, that she was always conscious of her background, as attested by her support for Aboriginal rights in a land where, even though she was in a privileged position, she was always aware that other people weren't, and she spoke up for them.
Was sexism still a big issue at that time?
I think sexism must have been a massive issue. Because even though, you know, in terms of race, she was a pioneer, you have to remember that in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, female solo singers, solo performers, and solo musicians were extremely rare, especially female solo pianists. And clearly, in the choice of music she was expected to play, it would be seen as something more appropriate, not just for a black woman, a black person to be playing, sort of light entertainment, but also for a woman to be engaged in. So I think she was a pioneer in a lot of ways, and even though from a 21st century perspective her music seems very lightweight, she was still pushing boundaries both over racism and sexism.
I haven't heard about her because she's probably not as important as she was back in her time. Like, she's probably less important now than she was back then, because people don't really care about things that happen in history, especially black history. Not many people care about it anymore, and we don't get taught about it much at school, and that's probably why I haven't heard of her. And her music's not out on iTunes or nothing, so the thing I enjoyed the most would be the interviewing, because I feel like I got more out of it. Like, I learned how to interview people, I learned speaking and listening skills, like something that would take me far. For example, if I was getting a job interview, knowing that I'm going to get something out of it, and the experience of interviewing people and just, I don't know, getting to talk to people that I wouldn't usually just like talk to. So for example, when we spoke to Steve, that was very interesting because he was a historian and he was telling us about Winifred and interviewing Julia. That was probably the highlight of the whole thing. Yeah, it's good to have projects like this because it makes you realise that you're not the only generation. Like, things did happen before you came here, and if they didn't happen, then maybe you wouldn't be where you are right now.